What's up YouTube? It's Ben, and in this video, I'm going to give you my advice on staffing versus direct hire. All right, guys, thank you so much for checking out another one of my YouTube videos. Hey, if you're not subscribed yet, we talk about recruiting and staffing and concepts that will help you build your own recruiting and staffing empire on this channel all day long, every video. So if you're into that, you should definitely become a subscriber by smashing that red subscribe button. And let's jump right into today's video. So the first thing that I wanted to do in this video is actually compare the business models of staffing and direct placement. I want to give you a quick little rundown and a comparison of the two so that you don't get things misunderstood. So many people blindly go into staffing and thinking that they're going into what they think is direct placement, which is completely different, requires completely different things, as I'll tell you about right now. So for anybody who thinks that they're getting into staffing, here's what you're actually getting into. You're getting into the practice of hiring your own W-2 or 1099 workers under your own name. We call this the employer of record. They're your employees for your own company, which you then send out and assign to your own clients. So you get a client that says, hey, I need about 10 workers and I need them to do XYZ job for 6 months. That's called staffing. They take about 10 of your people that you hire, you pay, you insure, you have all of the books on them, and they take them and they have them work for them for about 6 months, and you mark up the rate that you pay them. Let's say it's $10, you mark it up to $18 an hour, and you collect that difference of margin, aka profit, minus your burden, which is taxes. We're not going to go into all that, but you're essentially farming people out for the difference of that margin that you're going to bill your clients. Now, staffing comes in all shapes and forms. So staffing can be a contract, like a 6-month duration, where people are only going to work for 6 months, then the assignment ends, there's nothing else after that. Or it can come in the form of temp to perm, which means that basically it's temporary labor for about 6 months or 3 months or 4 months, and then the client actually decides who they want to bring on permanently to work for them. So it's truly like a try before you buy type of situation between you and the client. Or staffing can simply be open-ended temp, which is basically, hey, we need temporary laborers. We don't really know for how long, but here we need 10 people, give us 10 people. So you bring over 10 people, you mark up the rate, you make your profit, you make your margin for however long your client needs those people. And essentially it's just temp, it's open-ended, there's no contract set, and there's no end in sight. So you don't really know what's going to happen. It's kind of open-ended a little bit. All right, so let's talk about the serious stuff, the stuff that you actually need to do staffing. If you're going to be a staffing agency, you specifically need these things. You need liquid capital, okay? That means cash in the bank. If you're going to hire 10 contractors that are going to work for various clients of yours, you're going to need about $40,000 to $50,000. Yes, $40,000 to $50,000 liquid cash available to you that you can pay out to your contractors, to your temps on a weekly basis every Friday. That's how contracting works. That's how staffing works. Now, the second thing you need in staffing is insurance. You need general liability insurance to cover yourself for whatever happens on the job. After all, these are your employees. So if somebody's foot gets run over by a forklift, it's you on the line. It's nobody else but you. You're their employer. So for that, you actually need a policy. You need a $2,000 to $5,000 policy, whatever is going to cover about $1 million or $2 million in general liability coverage. You need that. You also need workers' compensation. You also need to understand how you're going to do payroll. You also need, on top of that, a system for tracking hours that these people are going to work for you. You need a lot of different things in place to do staffing, okay? It's a much, much different business than direct hire placement, which I'll describe next. All right, so let's talk about direct hire placement and how that works. So let's say you have a client that has a need for 3 salespeople. Simple enough, right? You sign an agreement with them, you sign a contract with your terms, your guarantee, your fee, and your net collection. commission terms when you're going to get paid, right? So you begin the search. You find your candidates, you find 3 salespeople, you find a handful of them actually, and bring them into the client for them to interview after you've screened them and vetted them. Make sure that they're quality. Then the client hires maybe 2 of them, right? You have a set fee. You're going to collect that set fee in whatever terms you agreed upon. Then you're going to have your guarantee, and you make sure that they stay along that guarantee period so that you don't have to replace anybody. Once that guarantee is done, you're completely done with the whole deal. You're paid out, your guarantee period has finished, and you are paid. On to the next client. As you can see, there are stark differences between staffing and direct hire placement. One is relatively complicated with a lot of things attached to it. The other, very simple and direct, pun intended. It's very direct, as in direct placement hire. With that being said, these models are drastically different. You have to understand the differences between the two. Otherwise, you're going to be really, really confused when you get into this game. So knowing what we know, what we just talked about, I'm going to give you my personal advice on staffing versus direct hire placement. With everything that I've explained about the differences between the two earlier on in the video, I think it hopefully was abundantly obvious that direct hire placement is the better starting option for the brand new person to recruiting and staffing. It is the easier way to get into the game. It's the easier way to start cash flowing, and it's just better overall as you amass your capital and stack that cash until you can get to a point where you can take on staffing contracts. Not only that, but you actually have to understand the game of recruiting and staffing to begin with. As I personally found out in my own history of starting my agency, it only made sense for me to begin as direct placement only for a while, for the duration of probably about 6 to 8 months before I considered taking on my first staffing contract. With that said, I was able to learn the process of sourcing, recruiting, hiring, interviewing, invoicing, all that kind of stuff. Then I could add in smaller pieces once I had that cash stacked so that I could actually take on staffing contracts where people could be my employees. I could pay them. I sourced them out. I actually got them under my own payroll. I had the payroll to begin with, and it all worked out. There is one misconception that I want to dispel right here, right now, and that is that staffing is a passive income model. It is not. Staffing is not passive, okay? There's a lot that you need to do over the course of a staffing contract. If you have people on your payroll, it is not passive whatsoever. You've got to be handling their hours, their actual payroll. You've got to be making sure that the money is there. You have to be handling replacements consistently. You have to be doing a lot of things the whole time. It is definitely not a passive income flow. All right, so to recap and summarize, direct hire placement, the way you should go, the way you should start, relatively easy to start, not too many things up front. Staffing, great business model, but something you don't want to really get into until you're about 6 to 8 months in of direct placement. With that being said, both are lucrative. Staffing is not a passive income model. Do not think that, please, but definitely start out in direct placement if you're a newbie. All right, guys, so if this video was valuable to you, please go ahead and smash that like button. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Hit that bell alert button so you know every single time I come out with a brand new video. Until then.